The Behind the Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com. Do you want to save around 40% off Disney's prices for deluxe on-property accommodations? Contact DVC-rental.com. They help out Disney Vacation Club owners rent out points that they're not going to use. These points mean savings for you on your next trip at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Vero Beach, Florida, and Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. The DVC member books everything in your name, just like any other reservation. And if you ever decide that you want to become a DVC member, you can check out our sister company, BuyAndSellDVC.com. As a licensed realtor, they sell DVC contracts for members at a savings of 30 to 40% off Disney's prices. And if you're looking to sell your contract, BuyAndSellDVC.com has one of the industry's lowest commissions at only 6.5%. Again, that's DVC-rental.com for your rental needs and BuyAndSellDVC.com to buy or sell into the Disney Vacation Club at a large discount. And make sure you tell them that the Behind the Ears podcast crew sent you. Hey everybody, it's Mr. Chris, and I got to tell you about Expedition Roasters. Listen, I'm a pretty big coffee drinker, just like a lot of you are, but these people have got coffee right. Their coffees are made from selectively sourced premium and specialty grade Arabica beans. They provide the absolute best flavor and aroma, and select roast even come directly from a single estate farm for a truly perfect cup that is never bitter. They've got awesome Disney-inspired flavors such as Roundhouse Roast, Route 66, Skipper's Brew, Dark Side Roast, Redhead Rum, and one of my favorites, Bob Slitter's Brew. Listen, if you want to have the taste of Disney in every cup, give them a try today. Expeditionroasters.com, and Behind the Ears podcast listeners gets an extra 20% off your first order by using the coupon code EARS20. That's right, EARS20. And you can find them over at expeditionroasters.com. Brew your happy place. Coming to you live from our studios on the East Coast and in the Midwest, it's the Behind the Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently.
Welcome back, everybody, from the East Coast and the Midwest. This is Behind the Ears podcast. I had to throw that in there. I am Uncle Danny. That is Mr. Chris. We are Behind the Ears podcast. If you are new to the show, thank you for lending us your ears. If you are a long-time listener or a medium-time listener, well, just thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Facebook and YouTube. What do? We are a Disney-style podcast. That's enough about that. Sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, even though you are directionally challenged. I'm doing pretty well.
It's all reversed.
I know. It just looks weird, doesn't it?
I guess it's not reversed, is it?
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the camera and you're to my right, I got to point right.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. Learn that.
I'm doing well. I'm kind of getting over a cold and stuff like that. Better living through chemistry. I've kind of learned how to live on cough drops. In fact, I've learned how to sleep with a cough drop in my mouth. Yeah, that's right. I sleep well, but choking risk kind of goes up. But that's okay. It's one of those things. I'm doing pretty well, and boy, we've got a really cool show. We're actually going to do something that we haven't done in a long time, and something that we did back in December that we could really actually use some great viewer interaction on this one. While we may not be able to put the comments on the screen right now, the fact of the matter is we are monitoring all comments over at Facebook as well as over on our YouTube channel. And so tonight we're going to do two things. we're going to play a little bit of this or that, or I put this or that, but I like to say this or that because it sounds kind of cool. Which is basically, we kind of do a quick rendition of, hey, I've got two choices. Which one do I choose and why? And the kind of fun part to it is, you know, Danny and I like to do different things. And sometimes we pick the same thing. Sometimes we don't. And the reasonings are usually pretty funny. And as we see people commenting over here, we'll go ahead and fill some of the blanks with what you have to say as well. And then a little bit later, we've got some listener questions that have come into our email address at behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And we'd like to go ahead and address some of those as well. We don't do listener questions a lot because it's not necessarily a focus of what we do. We like to do a little bit of everything. But we're going to go ahead and do that. So, Danny, as we start this or that, the first question I have to say is, we're going to do this in a couple different categories, okay? That way we're not like trying to compare apples to, you know, bicycle tires type of thing.
Okay.
And basically there are no real rules. It's just fun conversation if you had to choose between the two. And if you haven't done or experienced one or two of the items, you know, either one or just one of the items, feel free to pick whichever one you would like to try and why. So, my first one for you is kind of fun because I don't know what you're going to say on this one.
Okay.
Do you pick a cronut, or do you pick a cronut, or do you pick a Dole Whip? I couldn't think of it.
Any type of Dole Whip? Are you just talking Dole Whip flavor, or are we getting specific?
I'll go ahead and say,
are we doing swirl? Are we doing upside down pineapple? What are we doing here?
I'll let you go ahead and say any type of Dole Whip because I'm not being too specific here. And, you know, that way you can go ahead and add some flair to it.
Ooh, the cronut is good, but I feel like over the past few years, the cronut has gone downhill. So I'm going to go with the staple of ones that you can only find in Disney. Now you can find it in other places. Somewhere on the Jersey Shore. In Maryland, I know is a couple places. Definitely going to go with Dole Whip. Deciding on which Dole Whip to go with is very hard. I'm a the soft serve Dole Whip thing they got going on there. Mm-hmm. Now, I used to like the Dole Whip stand that they used to have at Poly, where you could just bring the cup over and literally take 5 pounds of Dole Whip. That is no longer there. So
I mean, I know that was so disappointing. We were like, oh yeah, we don't allow you to do soft serve Dole Whip anymore. I'm like, oh man, because there were some people
like me.
They have really good talent to be able to, you know, really pack it densely and also like, you know, 8 or 10 inches. You know, oops. Sorry.
Well, I worked at an ice cream shop for a while, and so I got that down pat. But what I used to do was I used to bring one of those liter bottles of soda, like an empty one, clean it out good, dry it out, and if you finagle it right and you have to bend open the top a little bit, you can get the Dole Whip machine to fit perfectly inside of it. So what you do is you just pack it in there as best you can. It's hot out, so you just get one of those 7-Eleven straws with a little scooper on the bottom, throw that sucker in there, walk around, and once it gets a little mushy, boom, you good to go. You have Dole Whip soft serve in a 1 liter bottle on the move.
Oh man, that is pretty awesome. You know, the thing of it is that I like a good churro. Okay, I'll admit churros are really good. I'm also a big Dole Whip fan. I'm just gonna be really honest with you. I'm a purist. Just give me straight up Dole Whip. You know, in a cup. You know, let me go ahead and eat it in spoon type of thing. I love it. And the thing of it is that I don't even try to make it at home because while I have purchased the Dole Whip mix, it's simply not the same. It's, you know, it's just one of those things where you just can't do it. You can't do it on your own. And so at the same time, it makes it more fun. It makes it more special. when you are just like walking on Disney property with a Dole Whip. That is my 2 cents.
Okay.
But actually, Lauren mentions here, she goes, the churros at Disneyland are far superior to the ones at Walt Disney World. That's an interesting thought. I've never had one at Disneyland.
Yeah. I don't know how they could be much different.
I don't know. Maybe it's just
baking process. Maybe
the fact that it's California. I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the suggestion from Alex. He's like this for this or that. Continuing down the food chain, so to speak, a turkey leg or Casey's corn dog nuggets. Which
that's easy.
That's
so easy.
You really? Okay.
Oh, that's a slam dunk. Listen. And I know where you're going to go, and I don't think you understand where I'm going to go. I love Casey's to death. I love Casey's like anybody else loves Casey's. Nothing beats that ostrich leg that turkey leg that Disney serves you, okay? You get a little mustard packets, and you sit. Now, granted, when I was an animal, and I didn't have the beard, and I didn't care, I used to just walk around with that turkey leg, put a little mustard on and eat it. Now I'm a little more civilized. I've grown up. I have a beard. You can't just be eating ostrich and letting it drip all over the place. You sit down like a human being, you get a knife and fork out, and then you go to town on that thing. That is a meal. I'm sorry. When I walk away after eating a turkey leg, I'm not hungry. I'm full. I might not be, I'm stuffed. I am content, if nothing else. Casey's, I'm looking for the fries to go with it because the nuggets will not fill me. So I'm going to say slam dunk goes to the turkey leg for dollar value. For what you're getting for the price point, the turkey leg is by far better. I
never really thought about it from a dollars and cents perspective. That's actually a really interesting way of putting it because if you think about it, 2 people can chomp on those things for what is it, $10?
Yeah.
I mean, it really, you can have some fun with it. And also think about it. Where else are you going to do that sort of thing? I haven't even been to like a county fair where they've had those things in that manner. And if they looked really they looked queasy. That's the best way of putting it,
And you can't mess up the turkey leg because you can't overcook them. I've had Casey's Corner where you can tell whether they've been sitting for a little while. And usually you don't get that because they're so busy. But I've actually had them where they've come out a little too soft. Where that, you want that breading to have not to be crunchy, but you want that flakiness when you bite into it. You don't want to bite into soft dough because then you don't want that whole bite to be just squishy.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I'm still more of a fan of Casey's corn dog nuggets because maybe it's just because the first time I had a turkey leg, I just colored me not impressed. Okay, it wasn't.
Do you like ham?
I do. I
tastes exactly like ham.
I eat ham very often. In fact, today I had a.
Better watch that. Blood count. That sodium count. Ham's salty, boy.
The funny part is I had ham, green pepper, onion, and cheese omelet this morning for breakfast with a side of bacon.
Who cares about cholesterol? You got to go with the bacon.
Hey, that's a whole different topic. The funny part is Gordon says turkey leg and a cold beer for a walk around World Showcase for the win every time. Alex says that everybody around you, Danny, is jealous with the turkey leg and mustard. Brandon says he's never had a turkey leg. Brandon, I think you need to correct that.
I can understand why, though.
Well, I know.
I can.
They're not everybody's cup of tea, and they are kind of intimidating.
They don't look appealing either.
No, they look intimidating at times.
Yeah, they look sloppy, which they are, though.
Oh, they are, and that's the thing. It's like you really just, if you have to eat it, go eat it near the restroom because you're going to have to wash your hands afterwards anyway.
Oh yeah, plenty of napkins.
Lauren said she had a turkey leg once and it was totally grossed out. Jessica also says, "Yep, they taste like ham." Let's see.
It's the seasoning they use. I looked into this. It's the seasoning they use.
Yeah, it really is. And
tell Nick that me and him will get a turkey leg.
You gotta
we'll toast with our turkey legs.
Oh, Do me a favor, though. If you're going to toast the turkey leg, could you please do it before you take a bite out of it? Because otherwise that's just kind of gross.
No. We take bites first.
Okay, so the one actually just came up as another suggestion, and I kind of scrolled past it, but I remember what it was. So forgive me for not giving credit to where credit is due on this one. For the next this or that, someone said gondola versus monorail.
That's unfair. We don't know how the gondola is.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people that are still excited about just hitting it up, though.
Can I pick boat? Because I honestly don't like either.
You know what? I will allow it.
Thank you.
I will
Judge's
allow it.
rule. Here's my reason behind I don't like them both.
Okay.
The monorail, and I understand, but I say, but we're getting new ones. I get it. Until the new ones come out, I'm cool with not riding the monorail. I mean, do I ride it every trip? Sure. But I am not one of those people that ride it to ride it. Like Chris's wife loves the monorail. She considers it her favorite ride in Disney is the monorail. I use it for pure convenience when I'm trying to get from Magic Kingdom to one of the bordering resorts along that nature. Outside of that, I'm not a big fan of it. They are old. Some of them do smell. I don't even care about the doors falling off. To me, that's added equity with air conditioning. I don't like the fact that they break down so often. They have to stop. And I understand a lot of it is for safety reasons for you and everybody else. It's just, to me, it is just another means of transportation, and to me, it's a glorified bus that's getting around it. Because everybody says, well, the bus can sit in traffic. But so technically can a monorail. It's a different type of traffic, but it is technically still a form of traffic. The gondola, they're open air, no air conditioning. You're kind of just suspended up in the air on this wire. I mean, I've seen horror stories with ski lifts that are pretty similar. It seems like a very small space. And if your whole party tries to cram into one, and it's a little bit tight seating, it's basically when Chris and myself were on Pirates of the Caribbean, we all tried to fit on a boat. It broke down, and then we're all very uncomfortable. And now I can only imagine August, random date here, August 22nd, in the heat of the summer, getting beat down on the sun with no air conditioning. And what happens if you do get stuck up there for a half hour?
Okay, good.
I'm going to stick to a boat where the boat, yes, it's probably the slowest mode of transportation. Yes, I understand that you are getting beat down on the sun or the rain. There is really not much protection from any of them. But do remember, when you are on the water, it is usually a couple degrees cooler. You will feel a difference getting from the water to the land, even though I understand it is a small body of water. You do sometimes get that nice breeze off of the water. It's usually a lot more relaxed because they don't really cram those boats with too many people. Most of the boats you can sometimes kind of stand up if your legs are cramping a little bit. And they're not going to hold you out on open water if there's like a clog up somewhere. They'll move it to a different dock or whatever the case is.
They have options.
So least amount of issues happening. That's why I went with the boat. I've lived on the ocean my entire life. I'm from a small beach town. So water to me is home. Okay. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay. Well, our friend B from buyandselldvc.com, she mentions, I'll do the boat with you. So there you go.
There you go, B. We'll rock that boat.
Oh, man. It's okay. But I will say, I'll even add this, that, or the other because of adding the boat. I'm still going to go with the monorail. I still love it. I can't wait till they get the new ones. I will tell you that. I'm totally pumped for the idea that they're getting new ones. Mainly because, gondolas I think it'd be cool. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to actually giving a real honest review of them too. And, and I say because there's a lot of nostalgia to that. I remember riding the gondola going from Tomorrowland to Fantasyland during my very first trip with my mom. And that was, to be honest, that's one of the only real memories that I have of that first trip when I was like 7 or 8 years old. So there's some nostalgia to it. I have to do it. So, but monorail, as much as like Christine says, the monorail smells like a horse barn. It's one of those cases. I don't know if I agree with that, but there is that kind of unique smell. I mean, it's not a smell that you're going to get from a candle, from like, the Lemon Sisters or anything like that. At least I hope not, unless they already have one. That would actually be too funny. There's got to be somebody that likes it. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking. But yeah,
I kind of want to comment on a couple things here.
Sure.
Where did it go? Just scrolled past it. Cindy said, Danny, don't you think Disney thought of all that? I'm not sure what she was referring to because it is hard to be able to keep track of when the comments get in because you guys are on a delay compared to us. So, Cindy, if you want to double back on that comment, let me know.
I have a feeling it's all your gondola comments.
Oh, I'm sure. And then Justin says a boat can sink and catch on fire. Very true. So here's my thing. If a boat sinks or catch on fire, I can get away from that boat before major harm, outside of an explosion, obviously. But if a boat starts sinking, I can swim. If the monorail catches on fire, I'm jumping 35, 40 feet to the ground. Probably gonna, if not die, break a lot of bones.
You do know that they have a way that if there's an emergency that they like lower the gondolas down to the ground in like 30 seconds or less, right?
I knew the gondola, yeah, but I mean, not to be morbid, have you ever seen the gondolas in like the alpine skiing and everything where a cable snaps? I'm not saying it's going to happen. And I am 99.999% sure it will never happen. That is not the reason why I don't want to ride it. I don't want to get stuck in one where you're just like, okay, it's a half hour and we're still stuck.
Yeah, but you're also rather claustrophobic too. I can understand.
Oh, I'm super claustrophobic, and there's no air conditioning. I'm a big guy. These are just things that weigh into it.
I was gonna say something funny, and I don't know. It'd be like one of those cases where it's like, don't go on the gondola if, like, I don't know, that you've eaten a turkey leg beforehand or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying not to be too graphic about that.
Graphic.
Yeah, it's just, that would be kind of funny though. So what about this? And by the way, if you come up with one, feel free to chime in with one. So if you had a choice between staying at a deluxe resort for 5 days or a value for 10 days for the same money, which one would you do?
All right, I have to throw a kink into that, though.
Okay, what's that?
Where is the value? Is it any value?
Whatever
I'm not saying sweets. I'm just saying, is there a value? Does it matter which value?
I'll go ahead and say for same money, it's whatever your favorite value is.
Okay. Now, obviously, it's a loaded question because you're spending more time. If it's the same amount of days, you still got to pay for extra tickets, extra food, things like that. I'm going to take that all out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say 10 days at a value because that's 5 extra days in the parks with me and whoever I'm with, my family. That's 5 extra days to make memories. And at the end of the week, you're just using that hotel to put your head on a pillow. And I'm a moderate guy. I'm actually, I would love to stay deluxes more, but I do stay at moderates more than I stay anywhere else. It's just the value to me of getting 5 extra days in a park. Now, if you said to me, Danny, it's 5 days club level poly or 10 days at sports, I'm going to take the 5-day club level. But if we're just talking rooms and I get to pick my value, oh, God, no. More days, the better.
It's interesting because there are people like Trisha says value without a doubt. And then right after Sarah goes deluxe, hands down. Gordon agrees with you 100%. Carol says value, more days are better. It's not like Universal where the high end, they have to include Express Pass. And so to me, this is actually a tough call because I'm probably the only person in my family that would actually say this in a way. My son is not a fan of the values. And if you go by what my wife says, she'll say the values don't have hot tubs. That is like one of the fun things that she says she has to have because she likes to soak in a hot tub.
The values don't have hot tubs?
No, they don't. So she would say deluxe resort for a shorter period of time. I myself would probably go ahead and say the value for a longer period of time because I would probably end up visiting the other resorts anyway. But I've done it both ways. I've done shorter trips at deluxes. I've done longer trips at values or moderates for that matter. And I guess it really depends on what your plans are.
All right, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in you.
Okay.
Cody over at YouTube says, all right, he wants to throw a monkey wrench into this.
Okay.
So value for 10, deluxe for 5, moderate for 7. Cut the difference.
I think, tell you the truth, I mean, I think that's a very comparable set of parameters. 5 at a deluxe, 7 at a moderate, 10 at a value. Yeah. And I would, if given those 3 choices, this, that, or the other, I would go with the moderate. And in fact,
me as well. Because I also think 7 days is enough. Would I love to do 10? Sure. But after day 5, my mind starts thinking, all right, I got to go back to work or got to go back home. Like my laundry list of things that have to get done start to take over.
Right.
And so I'm not itching to go home by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But 7 is usually, I mean, we're doing 8, this upcoming trip. 7 is usually my sweet spot where I like to be at. So I would definitely go moderate for 7.
And, because I think this is the interesting part. If you're there for 5 days, you're always wanting more. If you're there for 10 days, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes by the time you hit that 9th day, you're like, you know what? I've had a good vacation and it's about time to go home.
Yeah.
And 7 to 8 days is like, yeah, this is cool. And then, like, you go home, you're like, I'm pretty jazzed. And, because here's the thing. As much as I myself would love longer vacations, I mean, I would love to be on vacation for 2 weeks. In fact, my dream vacation would be like a week-long cruise and a week at the parks. Well, actually reverse that. Yeah. A week at the parks and then a week at the cruise. That would be my ultimate. You
need the cruise to relax from the parks.
Yeah, you got that right. And the fact of the matter is that, you can go ahead and, you crank your time out for 7 days at the parks and you're just all jazzed up. It's all wonderful. Then you go to the cruise and you like totally and completely are treated like royalty. And like, I've said this before. You can walk onto the cruise with $5 in your pocket. You can walk off the cruise with $5 in your pocket and still roll off as cargo because of all the food they feed you.
I'm telling you, man, if they put a casino on that cruise, I'd be gone tomorrow. I'd be going tomorrow.
I could,
That's just a big thing. A day at sea. I'm not a lounge by the pool for 9 hour type of guy.
No, I get it. And I'm not a huge fan of the days at sea myself. I've done it a couple times. One of the last ones I did was a 4-day double dip. And so it was like the first day you stopped at Castaway Cay. The second day you stopped at Nassau. The third day was a day at sea. The fourth day was back at Castaway Cay. And as much as I really enjoyed that day at sea, there was a ton to do. I mean, if you're bored, then you've got a problem. But I would.
Yeah, that's a you thing at that point.
Yeah, it really is. But that's the thing. I mean, it's kind of like Alex actually put it really well. He goes, "Don't overdo a vacation. You'll need another vacation down the road, type of thing." And I agree. And I will say that the one time I did a 10-day vacation, there was a lot of extenuating circumstances that made that trip not as magical as it could have been, partially because it was our first trip in August, and I had no idea how it was going to be. And at the same time, we had a death in the family right before we left. And also, and this is the thing that really got me the most, I commented on it before. I'm going to joke about it now. My wife's like, hey, let's go to this special shoe store because they'll go ahead and do a great job of picking the shoes out for you to be great on our Disney vacation. Those shoes stunk. And my feet were in so much pain by the end of the 7th day. I'm like, I want to go home. It was horrible. Anyway, so that's what I have to say about that. So I like that idea. I think 5, 7, I'll even say either 9 or 10 days, depending on resort. I think no matter how you do it, you're gonna have a good time. So I'll go ahead and throw this out here. Would you rather spend, if you had a little bit of extra money to spend, would you rather spend it on a fireworks cruise or a really cool tour?
Wow,
and
that's a heavy hitter.
And I'll admit, the only tour that I've ever done was the Behind the Seeds tour, which is a relatively short, rather inexpensive tour that I really enjoyed. I had a great time on that tour. But people have always talked about going to like the Keys to the Kingdom tour and this, that, and the other. And I can't do that one quite yet because my son's not 16. And I've never done a fireworks cruise, although I have actually thought about doing a fireworks cruise and things like that. So I have limited experience with one. I have no experience with the other. Both are things that are on my bucket list. So what say thee?
I'm going to go the tour only because you can see a little more behind the scenes. You get to learn a little bit more. There's a little more information, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of history. And the fireworks from the river sound great. I do that every 4th of July up here as it is. Now, granted, I understand my 4th of July is not Disney's fireworks. I get that. But I would love to see some of the inner workings and things along that nature. So, yeah, as much as the firework on the river sounds great, I'm going to go with the tour. Any tour. Not Behind the Seeds tour. If we went with a low-level tour like that, I'm going to say no, the firework. But if we're talking Keys to the Kingdom, yeah, I'm going to go Keys to the Kingdom.
That's really cool. And again, I would probably go with Keys to the Kingdom tour as well. As much as I like the fireworks idea of the fireworks cruise, I'll be really honest with you. I've seen them stack boats up like around Epcot for like the Illuminations cruise. It doesn't seem like a very prime viewing spot. At the same time, I like to take pictures, and I don't know if I could really take a good picture of like Happily Ever After when the boat's moving. That would be kind of hard to do. At the same time, I just think that you gain some more memories by doing a tour. It's that edutainment style that I think would really appeal to me. I really like that. Chris basically mentioned Chris Hiller, our local correspondent, basically says the Marceline to Magic was awesome. Kevin also said that they did the Keys to the Kingdom, and it was a great tour. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I think someone else mentioned something.
Just did ask a question. We have actually a couple questions.
Okay.
So this one was directed at me, but obviously for both of us.
Sure.
She said, Danny, which do you prefer now? Because she knows I'm a big people watcher.
Sure.
The bench in Canada or the bench in Morocco? And that's a heavy hitting question right there. I'm going to throw my answer out there with a bonus answer. So my answer to those two is I don't like Canada in the aspect of, if we have any Canadian listeners, that's going to be a clip on YouTube somewhere.
Dude, we have some good Canadian listeners, dude. Don't put it like that. Watch what you say.
It's too congested at times, and it's just not and the sun beats down right there. There's really not much shade unless you go higher into like the cave area where Le Cellier's entrance is. So Morocco, plus you got the food right there, my favorite restaurant. So Morocco would definitely be my answer. A lot more shade and nice little spot to people watch. Now, if you want a bonus spot, and it used to be a smoking section, no longer a smoking section. But if you walk past France, like you're heading out, you may, instead of going to the United Kingdom, you bang the left over the bridge to head towards that gift shop, and you're heading towards Boardwalk and towards the boats right there. There's a row of benches right there that your backdrop is the Eiffel Tower. What's to your left, you've got a beautiful gift shop that always has great stuff in it. Look to your right, you've got United Kingdom. And then you have everybody walking so you get to watch people walk. It's the funniest thing. You watch people just talking, they walk all the way to the exit of the park and like, oh, we didn't mean to do that. You watch them walk all the way back to the United Kingdom. They get lost. Yeah, that is my bonus spot for a bench.
And it's like usually totally in the shade.
Always in the shade.
Always
In the shade.
I would probably say, I'll go ahead and switch it up. If I'm going to people watch, I usually like to people watch like from Japan. Mainly because I know this sounds kind of silly, because a lot of people like to have their picture taken by the gateway arch there in Japan. It's always funny to watch people try to do certain poses. Or, it's like, come on, really? Or worse yet, it's like they try to get a selfie with like 14 people in there at the same time. And it's just like, come on, seriously. I think that's actually pretty hilarious. That's where I would do people watch. But if I had my choice between Canada or Morocco, I would probably say Morocco, because I think they have more entertainment, different music. It's also a lot of fun. That would be my pick. Let's see.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party versus Very Merry Christmas Party, and that was coming from our good friend Kevin Stacy on Facebook. That's a heavy, and I got two more lined up too. So
I'm gonna go ahead. If I had my choice between that, I'm gonna go with the Christmas Party every time. Mainly because Halloween is not my favorite holiday of the year. Not because of anything at Disney. I'm just not a big Halloween fan. Although I do like dressing up or do some Disney bounding for Halloween. And before Disney cracked down on adults wearing costumes, there were some people that just had some fabulous Disney character costumes. Yeah. So, but given all that, I'm more of the Christmas person. That would be my take. What's yours?
I am more of a Christmas person, especially with especially the color schemes and the lights and everything. But I am going to go with Not So Scary Halloween Party due to the fact of everybody dressing up. The adults get involved. The kids get involved. I do believe the parade is much better during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I believe Hollow Wishes is much better than what you're going to get at Mickey's Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. There is more to do in the aspect of you can trick or treat. I know they have booths for Very Merry Christmas Party. We get hot chocolate and hot apple cider and things like that. I do like the idea of the trick-or-treating aspect because you get to trick-or-treat in Disney. That's fantastic. A lot more rare characters come out for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
That's a very good point. That, and of course, you have the highlight of the Headless Horseman.
Yes. And remember, me and Chris are both from cold climate areas. Seeing snow does nothing for me. The snope, as we've called it, that does nothing for me because I'm like, oh, man, that sure reminds me when I get home, my car is going to be 3 feet in snow in the airport. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Well, the snope was fun until
for 5 seconds.
I was going to say, until it got in one of my camera lenses.
Yeah, and you're done. You can't get that. Takes forever.
Oh man, I was like, oh, and I didn't have a microfiber cloth. I'm like, this really stinks.
I've got another one here.
Yeah.
This is from Brandon, a longtime listener. Glad to have you back, Brandon. If you were an Imagineer, do you redo Journey into the Imagination, or don't you make it any better and put an all new attraction in? So basically, Journey of Imagination. Are we redoing it? Or saying, let's scrap it and build something new?
I want them to revamp it. I want them to revamp it and bring back Figment, bring back Dreamfinder. I want them to bring it back to a real, not necessarily a quasi-classic type of attraction, because, it was one of those things where it was a very interesting attraction when it first came out. I think that they can really do, justice with Figment and really plus that ride, new storyline, including Figment, that could be very inspiring. So that's my take. And maybe that's just another way of saying redo it so it is an all new attraction. But I always say bring Figment back to the center. Bring back Dreamfinder, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much more I can add to that. You pretty much hit it all on the head. I want to see Dreamfinder come back, and obviously, I want to see Figment play a bigger role. Albert Wong with another great question here. Do you or don't you redo Mission Space and partner with NASA and make it a space camp type experience, or simply keep it the same? I got to agree and say partner with NASA. It's silly that they have not partnered with NASA at this point. Go all out, especially now that they have a restaurant, a space themed restaurant. Go all out with it.
So really what Albert is saying is you take what is a good attraction, and I realize not everybody likes it. Not everybody likes the spinning or even the non-spinning or the ride vehicle, this, that, and the other. I know it still has a good draw, but, if you go ahead and revamp it to make it a space camp type of experience, and I'm going to assume, and Albert, forgive me if I'm not hitting the mark here on this, that to make it a space camp type of experience means that maybe you go through the queue line in stages where things are more interactive. And maybe you make it a multi-part attraction. I think that would be really cool. I think they could do some more with it. I don't know if they have the footprint for it, but I think that you could have some fun with that.
And I see a lot of people saying SpaceX instead of NASA. Either way.
Hey, you know what?
Tomato.
NASA is still an entity, but, there is a truth that, SpaceX is doing a lot more with it. And, hey, you know what? Either organization. Yeah, I think it would be really cool.
So Chris Hiller, our correspondent, chief marketing executive guy with the camera in the park. I think that's his job title now. Going off of my post the other day, would you prefer art festival, flower and garden, food and wine, or holidays around the world? So we gave you a lot of options there.
Huh. That's interesting because if you think about it, the first three are all very much like similar. I mean, I realize they're not all similar. I get it. But all of them have a festival type atmosphere. The Christmas around the world is, in my opinion, less of festival, more of edutainment. And I've enjoyed it very much in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to exclude the Christmas around the world just for my own choice. You can go ahead if you want. I would probably say food and wine, to be honest with you. I think they really pull out all the stops for food and wine. Flower and garden is gorgeous, but I know that if I'm down there for food and, for flower and garden, I am breaking out the Zysol. I'm breaking out the Sudafed. I am breaking out the Benadryl. And that's 3 days, starting 3 days before I actually get there. But I still enjoy it because it is actually really. I love the topiaries. That's my biggest thing. I love the topiaries. So, but that's my 2 cents.
I'm gonna go flower and garden because I feel like you get 90% of the extravaganza of the food and wine. Yeah. And I do leave off that 10% because there is something lacking because it's not designed to be exactly like food and wine. So they have to leave some things off the table, but you get a large majority of the food. You have not saying food and wine doesn't give you beautiful things to look at, but the tapestry, the new flowers, hands down, is just better flower and garden. And then on top of it, you get a butterfly museum. I don't care if you don't like butterflies or not. When you're in there and you have a couple beers, and all of a sudden the butterflies are flying around, they're landing on you. It's a beautiful thing. I'm taking some really good pictures in there. I just feel like the flower and garden just offers a tad bit more than every other every other option they have. Yeah. We have another from Kevin here. To revamp Dinoland.
I just read that.
Keep Dinoland the same and revamp it, or make it into Zootopia.
Well, there's a lot of people that have said in the past that like they feel that Dinoland doesn't really fit. It's like you have all these other lands with really cool animals and this, that, and the other. And they said, Dino Land doesn't fit because, really. But at the same time, I like Dino Land. I do. I mean, Primeval Whirl. Yes, that is my ride. I've even enjoyed Dinosaur, the ride, a few times. But, and my son, when he was little, loved the Boneyard. Just absolutely adored it. Because sometimes you just need to be a little kid and just run around. Bacon Zootopia, though. I would venture to say that, you, Danny, have actually said in the past that Animal Kingdom really could do themselves a solid by breaking out the Zootopia IP, putting it somewhere in there. And I think they could do that pretty well there. They could revamp it and make a little bit of a Zootropolis, or have some interesting themed attractions. But if you think about it, it's also a relatively small piece of land. So you would have to be sorry about that. You would have to be a little bit selective as to what kinds of things that you would do.
That's a problem. Where I was going to go with that was when we were talking about, replacing it in Dino Land. Dino Land is not a large enough footprint for the idea of what I have in mind. So I'm going to say keep Dino Land the way it is, but that does not mean I want to exclude Zootopia, off the map, because I do feel like there is a place for Zootopia. My fear is that it's just by the time they decide to do it, is it going to be relevant anymore? I mean, think about Pandora. I understand they're done filming the second, they're working on the third, and there's supposed to be more and more. But at the end of the day, is Avatar still prevalent like it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago? It's not. Now, granted, that is a bigger franchise. Well, soon to be a franchise. They'll have sequels, and that is going to be a bigger market than Zootopia is. But I mean, they're technically working on a Zootopia 2 in a roundabout way. It's just by the time you plan it, by the time you get permits, you break ground, you get it erected, you have all these things that got to line up. Where are we going with it? It's gonna, unless you plan on making it a Toy Story where you're putting out sequel after sequel after sequel, is it relevant anymore? That's my fear. And I would love to see a Zootopia. And I've come up with great ideas for Zootopia. We've planned out Zootopia. We've also planned out Inside Out. Once again, these are one-hit wonders, though, these movies. So the more time that goes by, the more I sit back and think, that doesn't really make much sense to do that now, does it? You're muted.
Yeah, I knew that. The biggest thing is that if you are going to redo a whole land, you've got to have something that has a lot of staying power, and it's going to be relevant for, I say, the foreseeable future. Toy Story Land is a great example of that, because, I mean, let's face it, someone might say, well, considering how long it's been since, the last Toy Story movie, and they're going to bring out another one, of course. When does that franchise come to an end? And when does it make sense to not have that land anymore? You have to get an idea of what is going to be the phenomenon and what is going to stick around. I would almost say, and this came to my mind, I don't know how this would work. This is just a top off of my head idea. What if you had that land instead of Zootopia? You had it consist of attractions or meet and greets of all the different types of animal characters within the Disney and or Pixar library. So you would have all the sidekicks that are animals. You would.
It's not a bad idea.
You would have. You have.
Not in love with it, but it's not bad.
No, it's not. It's not the superest. It's not the best idea, but you would have Doug from Up. You know, you could have the characters from Zootopia. You could have Miko from Pocahontas. You can have all these.
So what is the sloth from Zootopia? What type of ride is that? Do you just move at like an inch every second, just real slow?
Gosh, that is. Isn't that?
You wait 6 hours to go 3 feet.
Isn't that kind of like what you would call a line to go see a character meet and greet?
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Hey, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I mean, you know, seriously.
Someone brought up, Kevin says, I kind of differ, you know, was regarding what I was saying about Avatar. It's 2 to 3 hour waits for Flight of Passage, and it's been almost 2 years. Once again, though, you're making a justification about a ride. The ride is the most inventive ride they have in their park.
Yeah.
Is the most cutting edge ride they offer. It's not 2 to 3 hours wait to go to Pandora. What is it technically called? Pandora, right? Right? Yeah, I'm right.
It's Pandora.
Yeah. Then you're not having people wait 2 to 3 hours to go to Pandora.
For a dud.
You're having 2 to 3 hours to just ride an attraction in there.
Yeah.
Just like you're not seeing a 2 hour wait to enter Toy Story Land. You're seeing a 2 hour wait to ride Slinky.
Absolutely. So it's really kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting when you think about these types of things, because, I mean, people complain in some ways that they miss having, you know, some of the classicness in some of the attractions to be replaced with, you know, Disney IP. But in some ways, you still have to bring the crowds in and so on. I mean, take Maelstrom for a great example. Very popular attraction. You know, everybody loved the ride itself. No one cared for, you know, the after ride type of thing. But people will stack up for hours to ride it as Frozen Ever After. And it's just kind of interesting when you think of that. So it's kind of cool. Well, Danny, you know, we have about 10 minutes left, and I thought we'd ask ourselves some questions that were brought forth to us either by private messaging over at the Behind the Ears Podcast Facebook page, or over by our email at behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. One of the questions that came up was, you know, basically it was to you, asking what is the app that you use to help determine when is a good time to buy airline tickets? And I can't remember what it was.
It is called Hopper. Hopper like a bunny. He hops. HOPPER. You download that app. It's a free app. I do not get any kickback for that app. People always ask me that. No, I do not. I wish. You just go on there. You put in your dates. You know, you pick your airlines where you want to go. And then basically it'll give you an alert. When is a good time to buy. And then, you know, it'll update you randomly like, hey, these are really good deals. We project them to only last another 4 days. You know, book now. Or if you could just simply go into the app and click it if you don't want notifications sent to you, and it will give you like a price. It will give you a timeline like, hey, between now and the next 2 months, prices will vary between this. If you wait to this date, prices will jump up to this. And if you wait till this date, prices will skyrocket to this. The app does have a couple flaws. You got to work around it. Just know when you're using the app, it's always going to pull the cheapest flight. So for me, I don't have layovers because I'm too close. So if you are in an area that might have layovers, you might want to check that, because you might leave at 6 a.m. and not get there till the following 6 a.m. You might have 9 layovers. So keep that in mind. Also, if you want to fly specific times, there is a way to do it in the app. It is not 100% accurate. So keep in mind, you might be like, wow, I got this deal. Look, they just sent me a Hopper said I could book it for $125 round trip right now. That might be true, but you might say you're like me and you like to leave early in the morning and come home late at night. It might have you leaving early in the morning and coming home early in the morning, might have you come home in the middle of the day. So do understand that just because the app says this set price, go into it and look. But at least it will give you the alert of when something of a nice deal happens to appear, so you don't have to consistently check on yourself.
You know, that's really interesting that you say that, because somebody was, and I saw this on another Facebook page, they're talking about, you know, airfare, and sometimes we talk about airfare here too. And, they're talking about, whether or not to go on this airline, go on that airline. And I basically also have to say it's not necessarily the cheapest. I don't think people should be looking for the absolute cheapest airfare, but you use that information as a guide to try to figure out what is the best value for you. Because like you said, if your flight is at 6 p.m., you're not getting into Disney until 10. You've basically blown up an entire day, and you have to, basically just go to your hotel right off the bat. At the same time, if you're leaving at 6 in the morning, you're not getting any use at the parks on that day either. So, it might be worth your while to spend an extra, $20 to $50 per person to get a flight that either arrives early, leaves early, or leaves late, or preferably both. And that way you can actually maximize the amount of time that you're actually on your vacation. And the interesting part to it is it goes along with the saying, cheapest does not necessarily equal the best value, but an app like that will help make you help you make an informed decision. And I think that's really cool. So, and Kevin goes, we all know that Danny loves Spirit.
Oh, yes, my favorite. Can't wait to ride them.
Well, I was going to say, would you, of course, you're going to try to get the Dumbo plane, aren't you?
Yeah, that ain't coming up here to Jersey.
That's funny. I said that, and then all of a sudden I see here, Chris goes, Spirit doesn't fly. They now soar with Dumbo. And he said he saw the plane taking off from Orlando last week. So, and like Gordon's even saying, hey, how's Frontier? We're getting them at our local airport with $59 flights.
It's another Spirit, man. $59 flights is great until they hit you with government tax fees. You have to refuel the airplane on your own dime. They charge you for the seats. They charge you for the size bag you want. Like Spirit, it's $40 for a checked bag, but you only get 40 pounds. And if you miss it by a pound, and you have the lady who doesn't want to wait for you to try to take a pound out,
is it like
you get hit with a $50 charge.
Oh, it's $50. Okay, goodness gracious. So yeah, I mean, people like example. Jessica recently flew them. She's like, it's not bad, but if you want a bag, buy it when you get the flights because it's cheaper. And
it is cheaper. Yeah. That is very true.
So it's kind of depends on how. Oops, sorry about that. It kind of depends on how you do it. One last question before we run out of time for today. And this is one of those questions where I know you and I have a little bit different view of this. It's basically saying, hey, Danny and Chris, I know that my phone battery does not last all day, and I'm really kind of concerned about being able to access my Disney experience throughout the day. What do you guys use for portable chargers, or do you sit back and find a plug it against the wall to plug into? Really greatly appreciate your experience with this, and let me know what would be best for me. I myself, I use Jackery branded chargers. Not a sponsor. That is a shameless plug for them, but I'm not getting anything for that. Find them on Amazon. Strongly built, aluminum case, a little bit on the heavier side. I've been using the same one for about 3 years now, and it absolutely comes in handy for everything. I love how I can charge my multiple phones from almost dead to perfectly full, and I just let it charge back overnight. My son and daughter actually have larger capacity ones, so I think we can charge like 4 phones on one battery at one time. That's what I use. I have multiple of them, mainly because I just let one charge during the day and take another one with me. Danny, which ones do you use? Because I know you have a couple different ones.
I have a couple that because usually when we're in Disney, we're filming a lot. So I've got 2 Jackeries. I've got an Anchor that's from Amazon. I have a fuel rod that's through Disney, technically. I don't mess around with sitting at a wall and charging it. It just seems silly and a waste of time. Outside of that, I really don't. It's funny because you could tell the days that I'm filming because you'll just see me with my backpack with like 7 wires in front of me because everything in different pockets is charging, and I'm trying to get one camera going, another portable holders charging, everything's charging at once. And then there's other days where you'll see me walking through a park and I've got nothing. And it's just those days where I'm with family or by myself and I'm just shut off to the world. But yeah, Jackery is going to be the most expensive one you're going to be looking at, but it is going to be the most durable. Just remember, you pay for what you get. So when a Jackery says, and everybody lies a little bit, it's just the way nature is. If the Jackery says, hey, it can hold 10 hours worth of charging, I always like to go 2 hours under. It's about 8 hours. The Anchor, I found it to be about 2.5 hours short of what it said. Granted, the Florida heat is a problem. Tossing around in luggages is a problem. The Fuel Rod, you get one shot at charging. The nice thing about the Fuel Rod is when you're done, you just go to the machine, you put it in, and you get a new one. But once again, it stinks when you think the Fuel Rod's got enough juice to charge you, and it doesn't, and you're on the opposite side of the park, and they're not easy to find.
And I would say here's a top tip. If you want to get a Fuel Rod and you think the swap out capability is going to be more to your liking, and because they are rather compact, it's my understanding that if you get them like at the airport or at Orlando International Airport, they're actually like $10 cheaper. So that's something to think about. And you can still swap them in and out anywhere there's one of those kiosks, including Disney property. Chris uses them. Nick uses them.
I saw Cody over on YouTube. He also uses Anchor as well from Amazon, but he also said some charge up to 75% in 15 minutes. That is true on certain devices.
Yeah, your device has to be enabled for fast charge.
And you also need to bring your own cable, so remember that. So if you don't have a fast charge cable, you're not going to get it. 75% is a bit of a stretch. Now, to his own, if you're able to get it up to 75% in 11 or 15 minutes, let us know, because I'm always willing to buy new technology. Lindsay will tell you, I got to run up bills like anything with new technology. I'll do it. It's just I've personally never run into that. I'd say within 20 to a half hour, I can get 50%. Now, remember, I'm running an iPhone 10 Plus, and if I'm charging it, I've probably run it down to 0. So he's saying Cody on YouTube says the Pixel 3 XL does it 75% in 15 minutes. So it looks like I'll be researching the Pixel tonight to see if it's worth an investment here.
And I know that my Motorola will also do something very similar as well. And Ken, speaking of iPhone, Ken Rutledge. Hey, Ken, good to see you join us. Really nice to see you here, my friend. He's like, I have a Morphe on my iPhone. Never had a problem. And
you can't get them anymore, though.
You know, the thing is, I had a Morphe for one of my Samsung Galaxies, and it was fabulous. I loved it. And the thing is, it's like, I got it on clearance from Amazon for like $10. And it was absolutely wonderful. Unfortunately, the phone didn't last as long as the battery. What I mean by that is like the phone ended up just dying on me, which really stunk because the battery pack, here's the funny part. The battery pack was so durable on that thing is that I had it in a drawer for like 6 months. And I pulled it out and go, oh, I bet you it has no charge. I hit the little button. It was still 75% full. And I was like, geesh. So, yeah, if you could find Morphes for your particular device, that'd be great. I know they make them for iPhones. The problem with Android-based devices is that there's so many out there now, it's hard to find one that actually fits your phone. So it's just one of those cases. Well, Danny, I think that is about it for today. Do you have anything else for us on this fine Tuesday evening?
Oh, no, I appreciate you all tuning in. We had a great turnout tonight. Thank you, everybody, for commenting, sharing it out. Chris might be flying solo on Thursday. We will see. I got a bit of a procedure coming up. So see how I feel come Thursday night. But just know, people, if you're not nice to Mr. Chris, I see it. You treat him with respect when I'm not here. No, seriously. Last thing I did want to do, so I knew I was going to forget it.
What's that?
My shoes.
Okay, everybody, let's look at his shoes.
Look at them.
Okay.
So it's coming out very red right here.
Yeah.
It's more of a pinkish
than
anything else, but they're Nikes. They're super flex. They're airy built. They're built airy, like you can see the mesh in them.
Yeah.
But they also have some really nice stability. And I will say, when you first put on shoes for the first time, they're a little stiff. You can't move them around.
Yeah.
I had no problem. I popped these on. I went buy a couple pieces of furniture today, walked around Home Depot, and Home Depot will kill your back, people, that concrete floor. And no, I actually had great support from them. So I look forward to wearing them at Disney. That's all I got for you. I know it's kind of random.
Okay. Interesting. And one more thing before I hit the exit roll. And just remember that if you go over to the WDW community page over at the pin post, we're still looking to hear from you as to recommendations and suggestions as for guests and features for our marathon show, which is going to be Saturday, May 18th, in order to raise money for Give Kids the World Village. That is still going on. And don't forget that if you give me an actual name of somebody that you'd like for me to contact about being on our show, you are entered into winning one of 2 personalized custom t-shirts from Behind the Ears Podcast. And if we actually use one of your suggestions and they come onto the show, your name is going to be added into another drawing for a custom embroidered polo shirt that is valued at around $50. It's really nice. I have one. I really like it. You'll really like it as well. So, Danny, any last words?
Nope, that is it. Take us away.
Alrighty. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
Ooh, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. Once again, if you are new, you could follow us here on Facebook and or YouTube. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:45 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time. Emphasis on the ish. Trisha would kill me if I didn't mention this. Please follow us on Facebook at WDW Community. Like Mr. Chris says, you could follow us on all our social media platforms. Hit that like button, subscribe to the community page, and as well on YouTube, please subscribe and like the videos. With that being said, everybody, have a safe and wonderful week. We do appreciate all of you stopping in and hanging out with us on this evening. With that being said, I am Uncle Danny. That was Mr. Chris. A toodaloo.
Hey, everybody. Yep, I'm Mr. Chris. Thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate all your support for the show. Really, it means the world to us, and we're just here to help give you the best in Disney podcasting. Thank you so much, and until we meet again, we hope you have an absolutely magical day. Take care.